Learn to be alone. Physical solitude, exterior silence, and real recollection are all morally necessary for anyone wanting to lead a contemplative life. But like everything else in creation, they are nothing more than means to an end. And if we do not understand the end, we will make a wrong use of the means. We do not go into the desert to escape people, but to learn how to find them. We do not leave them in order to have nothing more to do with them, but to find out the way to do them the most good. But this is only a secondary end. The one end that includes all others is the love of God. How can people act and speak as if solitude were a matter of no importance in the interior life? Only those who have never experienced real solitude can glibly declare that it makes no difference, and that only solitude of the heart really matters. One solitude must lead to the other. However, the truest solitude is not something outside you, not an absence of people or of sound around you. It is an abyss, opening up in the center of your own soul. And this abyss of interior solitude is a hunger that will never be satisfied with any created thing. The only way to find solitude is by hunger and thirst and sorrow and poverty and desire. And the person who has found solitude is empty, as if they had been emptied by death. They have advanced beyond all horizons. There are no directions left in which they can travel. This is a country whose centre is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. You do not find it by travelling, but by standing still. Yet, it is in this loneliness that the deepest activities begin. It is here that you discover, act without motion, labour that is profound repose, vision in obscurity, and beyond all desire, a fulfillment whose limits extend to infinity. Although it is true that this solitude is everywhere, there is a mechanism for finding it that has some reference to actual space, to geography, and to physical isolation from the towns and the cities of people. There should be at least a room or some corner where no one will find you and disturb you or notice you. You should be able to untether yourself from the world and set yourself free, losing all the fine strings and strands of tension that bind you by sight, by sound, by thought, to the presence of other people. But thou, when thou shalt pray, enter into thy chamber, and having shut the door, pray to thy Father in secret. Once you have found such a place, be content with it, and do not be disturbed if a good reason takes you out of it. Love it and return to it as soon as you can. And do not be too quick to change it for another. City churches are sometimes quiet and peaceful solitudes, caves of silence where a person can seek refuge from the intolerable arrogance of the business world. One can be more alone sometimes in church than in a room in one's own house. At home, one can always be routed out and disturbed. And one should not resent this, for love sometimes demands it. But in these quiet churches, one remains nameless, undisturbed in the shadows, where there are only a few chance, anonymous strangers among the vigil lights, and the curious impersonal postures of the bad statues. The very tastelessness and shabbiness of some churches makes them greater solitudes, though churches should not be vulgar. Even if they are, as long as they are dark, it makes little difference. Let there always be quiet, dark churches in which people can take refuge, places where they can kneel in silence, houses of God filled with a silent presence. There, even when they do not know how to pray, At least they can be still and breathe easily. Let there be a place somewhere in which you can breathe naturally, quietly, and not have to take your breath in continuous, short gasps. A place where your mind can be idle and forget its concerns. Descend into silence and worship the sacred in secret. There can be no contemplation where there is no secret. We have said that the solitude that is important to a contemplative is above all an interior and spiritual thing. We have admitted that it is possible to live in deep and peaceful interior solitude, even in the midst of the world and its confusion. But this truth is sometimes abused in religion. There are people dedicated to God whose lives are full of restlessness and who have no real desire to be alone. They admit that exterior solitude is good, in theory, but they insist that it is far better to preserve interior solitude while living in the midst of others. In practice,